The rain was falling gently that morning in Los Angeles. Gray clouds hung low over the city like a blanket full of unspoken emotions. Most people hurried to work or stayed in. But inside a small community art center near downtown, KeanuReeves stood quietly near the entrance, hands in his coat pockets, looking out the window. He was there for something simple, a surprise visit. He had secretly funded the restoration of this little center. After hearing it was at risk of shutting down, the place had been home to struggling artists, children, and people with nowhere else to go. Now it was opening its doors again, with a small exhibit. It wasn't a red carpet event. There were no paparazzi, no flashing lights, just a soft, quiet gathering of people who had stories to tell through colors and lines. Keanu didn't want attention. He was there to support the place, see the art, maybe talk to a few kids, but he never expected what would happen next. Inside the gallery, laughter mixed with soft jazz playing from an old speaker. Children's paintings hung on walls, bold, bright colors, dragons, space rockets, handprints, and dreams. Older artists stood by their work, shyly explaining their process to strangers. There was warmth in the air, a feeling that even in a world full of noise, someone still cared. Then the door opened, and the room went silent for a moment. A young girl, maybe 9 or 10 years old, entered slowly on crutches. Her leg was wrapped in a heavy cast. Her clothes were soaked from the rain. Her face was pale, but her eyes carried something deeper. She held something in her hand, a folded piece of paper, slightly wet, with faint colors bleeding. At the edges. The volunteer at the front desk smiled kindly. "Hello, sweetheart. Are you okay?" The girl nodded. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I came to give this to him." "To who?" She pointed across the room. At Keanu. He turned, surprised. He hadn't even noticed her coming. The girl took slow, careful steps, her crutches clicking against the floor. The room was still. No one spoke. They all just watched. When she reached him, she looked up with those quiet eyes and held out the folded paper. "This is for you," she said. Keanu knelt down slowly to her level. He smiled gently. "What's your name?" "Mia." "Thank you, Mia," he said softly, taking the drawing. "Can I open it?" She nodded. Keanu unfolded the paper carefully. And when he did, his face changed. His expression softened into something deeper, something almost broken. On the paper, in rough lines and bright crayons, was a sketch of Keanu standing next to a girl with crutches. They were both under a rainbow. Above their heads, in a child's handwriting, were the words, "Thank you for seeing me." Keanu blinked. "Did you draw this?" Mia nodded. He stared at the picture again. His hands trembled a little. Then she said something that made the entire room freeze. "My mom said I might not make it to next week, so I had to bring this now." Keanu's eyes locked onto hers. "What do you mean?" Before Mia could answer, her legs gave out. She collapsed into his arms. People gasped. Keanu caught her gently and shouted, "Call 911 now." He looked around, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "Please, someone call right now." The volunteer rushed to the front desk, dialing the emergency number. Someone brought a blanket. A woman nearby, a nurse, knelt beside Keanu and checked Mia's breathing. Keanu held her small hand in both of his. "You're going to be okay," he whispered. "You're not alone." The ambulance arrived within minutes. Mia was taken in on a stretcher. Keanu rode with her, against the staff's objections. "I'm staying with her," he said firmly. "I promised." Inside the ambulance, Keanu held her hand the entire time. Her eyes fluttered open. "You saw it, right?" she asked weakly. "I saw it, Mia, and I'll never forget it." She smiled faintly. "That's all I wanted." Her words broke something open inside him. At the hospital, the doctors worked fast. They ran tests, checked her vitals, spoke in hushed, urgent tones. Keanu sat in the waiting area, soaked, quiet, hands clasped. The drawing was still in his pocket. A doctor finally came out, serious and direct. "Are you family?" he asked. "No," Keanu said, "but I'm here for her." The doctor looked at him carefully. "She collapsed from extreme fatigue and low blood sugar, but that's not the real issue. She has an untreated heart condition. Advanced. It should have been taken care of months ago." Keanu frowned. Where's her mother? The doctor shook his head. She didn't list one. Just your name on the form. Keanu was stunned. But I've never met her until today. The doctor lowered his voice. I don't know who this girl is to you, but she put your name as her emergency contact. If we hadn't gotten her here today, she may not have survived the night. Keanu stared ahead. Speechless. Mia had walked through the rain, on crutches, holding a single drawing, and in that moment, she had chosen him. Hours passed. Keanu sat beside her hospital bed, watching the machines beep softly. She was asleep now, breathing steadily. Tubes ran through her arms. The room smelled of antiseptic and sadness. He leaned forward and whispered, I don't know why you picked me, Mia, but I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. A nurse came in quietly. She's lucky, but she's also scared and alone. Keanu nodded. What happens next? She needs surgery. The nurse said, soon, but we don't know who's going to pay. There's no insurance, no guardian. Keanu didn't hesitate. I'll cover everything. Just do what you need to do. The nurse's eyes softened. You're a good man. No, Keanu said. She's a good kid. And she came here to thank me for something I didn't even do. He reached into his coat and pulled out the crumpled drawing. But now I will. That night, Keanu didn't go home. He stayed in a chair beside Mia, reading her stories, playing soft music, watching over her like a silent guardian. Outside, the rain continued to fall. But inside that hospital room, something beautiful was beginning. A bond. A promise. And the beginning of a story no one would ever forget. The next morning, soft sunlight crept through the hospital blinds. Birds chirped quietly outside the window. Machines beeped steadily inside. Mia was still asleep, her small body covered by a thin white blanket. Keanu sat beside her, unshaven, still in the same clothes as yesterday, his eyes tired but focused, only on her. The night had been long. Doctors and nurses had come in and out, checking on her vitals, adjusting machines, whispering updates. The surgery she needed was serious, heart-related, risky, and expensive. But none of that shook Keanu. What shook him was how she had walked through the rain on crutches, alone, just to give him a crayon drawing that said thank you. He still didn't know why. And he couldn't stop thinking about what she had whispered before she collapsed. My mom said I might not make it to next week. Keanu stood and walked quietly into the hallway, where a nurse at the front desk was updating files. Any news on her family? He asked. The nurse shook her head. We ran her prints through child services. No match yet, no parent listed. It's like she came out of nowhere. Someone had to bring her to that art center. Keanu said, or maybe. The nurse replied, or maybe she's been alone longer than we think. Keanu looked through the small window in the door, back at Mia. Alone. But not anymore. Around noon, Mia opened her eyes slowly. Her body was weak, her voice barely more than a breath. Is this heaven? She asked. Keanu smiled gently. No, this is room 302, and I'm still wearing the same shirt. She laughed softly. Then it's not heaven, not yet, he said. But it's close. She looked around, confused. Why am I here? You fainted. Remember the art center? She nodded slowly. You gave me your drawing, Keanu said. Then you passed out in my arms. I didn't mean to scare you. You didn't scare me, he said. You just made me care. She smiled again. Small, quiet. The kind of smile that came from someone not used to being cared for. Mia. Keanu asked gently, can I ask where your mom is? Her eyes turned away. Her hands clutched the blanket. She left. When? 2 months ago. Where did you go after that? A shelter. But I left. Too many people. Too loud. Keanu's heart sank. Double quotes. I stayed in an old house, she continued. It had no power, but it was quiet. I drew every day. How did you find me? I saw you in a movie once, she said. You made me feel like I mattered, so I wanted to say thank you. Keanu sat in silence, overwhelmed by the weight of her words. You walked all that way, just for that, she nodded. I didn't know how much time I had. He couldn't speak. His throat tightened. Instead, he reached into his coat and pulled out her drawing again. I kept it, he said, and now you're stuck with me. She laughed again. It was weak but real. The next few days passed with gentle care. Keanu never left her side. When reporters found out he was at the hospital, they swarmed the entrance, but he refused to give interviews. "This isn't about me," he said. "It's about her." He read her books. He brought her sketch pads and colored pencils. He even asked her to teach him how to draw. "Start with a circle," she said. "How do you make it not look like a potato?" She giggled. Practice. They built a friendship. From scratch. No cameras, no scripts. Just a people, one famous, one forgotten, reminding each other what real connection felt like. On the 4th day, the doctor returned. "We've reviewed her scans," he said. "The surgery needs to happen soon. We can wait a few days at most. Is she strong enough?" Keanu asked. "Barely, but we believe she'll make it. It's just, we still don't have a legal guardian to sign off." "What if I take legal responsibility?" Keanu said without hesitation. The doctor blinked. "You'd be her guardian? If that's what it takes to save her, yes." The hospital staff stared at him in awe. "You're serious?" the nurse whispered. "She already chose me," Keanu said. "I'm just catching up." Paperwork was rushed. A lawyer came in. Child Services approved a temporary guardianship. And on a rainy Friday morning, Mia was prepped for surgery. As they wheeled her toward the operating room, she held tightly to Keanu's hand. "If I don't make it," she said, "please finish my drawings. You're going to finish them." "Yourself," Keanu replied. "And when you do, we'll hang them in a gallery just for you. Promise?" "Promise." He kissed her forehead gently. And then the doors closed. Keanu sat in the waiting room for hours. He didn't eat. He didn't drink. He just sat, eyes locked on the floor, hands tight together. Every second felt like a year. People passed by and recognized him, but no one dared speak. They could see this was not the time. Finally, the doors opened. The doctor came out, tired but smiling. "She made it," he said. Keanu stood, unable to believe the words. "We repaired the valve," the doctor explained. "She's in recovery. Now, it'll take time, but she's a fighter." Keanu breathed in slowly, deeply. "For the first time in hours, can I see her?" "Soon," the doctor said. "Let her rest." Keanu sat again, this time with quiet tears rolling down his face. She had survived. A few days later, Mia opened her eyes again. The world was blurry, but the first thing she saw was Keanu, asleep in a chair beside her bed. She smiled. "Hey," she whispered. His eyes opened slowly. "Hey, did I miss the movie?" "What movie?" "The one about me." He laughed gently. "It's still being written. Can I have my sketch pad?" He handed it to her. And for the next hour, she drew a new picture, her and Keanu, both smiling, holding hands, standing in front of a hospital. And this time, the words said, "You stayed." Keanu looked at the drawing, then at her. Always. And somewhere deep inside him, something shifted. This wasn't just about helping a child. It was about finding something he never even knew he was missing. Family. Hope. A reason beyond the spotlight. And for the first time in a long time, KeanuReeves felt like he had been saved too. The hospital walls had become a kind of home. A week after her surgery, Mia was recovering faster than anyone expected. The doctors were amazed. Nurses stopped by just to chat with her, to see her newest drawings, or to hear one of her tiny jokes. Even other patients came by, curious about the girl who had captured everyone's hearts and the man who never left her side. KeanuReeves had changed too. His usual world was loud, cameras, scripts, red carpets. But in this quiet room, there were no flashbulbs, only heartbeats, crayon marks, and soft voices. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel like a celebrity. He felt like a guardian, a friend, maybe even something more. He brought her flowers every day. He brought her books and puzzles. And at night, after the nurses dimmed the lights, he would tell her stories, not movie stories, but real ones. Stories about his childhood, about losing his sister, about how sometimes, even when you have everything, you can still feel empty. Mia listened to every word. "You're not empty anymore," she whispered one night. He looked at her. "Why do you say that?" "Because I filled that space with my drawings." He smiled. "You sure did." One morning, a nurse entered the room with a folder in her hand. She looked nervous. "Mr. Reeves," she said, "there's someone downstairs. She claims to be Mia's mother." Keanu's heart stopped. He looked at Mia, who had gone pale. "Do you want to see her?" he asked gently. Mia didn't speak. She stared at her blanket, gripping it tightly. The nurse said, "We can't legally stop her if she wants to take Mia. She's still listed on the birth record." Keanu stood slowly. "Bring her up." "But I want to be here." The door opened. A few minutes later, a thin woman stepped in. Her clothes were wrinkled. Her eyes looked tired, worn down by years of struggle. She held her purse tightly, as if it was all she had left. "Mia," she said softly. The girl didn't look up. The woman's voice cracked. I didn't know where you went. I looked. I tried. You left," Mia said, her voice shaking. "You told me I was too sick. Too much." The woman dropped her bag. Tears filled her eyes. "I was scared. I didn't have money. I thought if I left, someone else would take better care of you." Keanu spoke for the first time. "So you left her in an abandoned house, without food, without heat." The woman flinched. "I was going to come back," she whispered. Keanu shook his head slowly. "She needed you." Mia still hadn't looked at her. "I'm sorry," her mother whispered. "I know I don't deserve to be here." There was a silence so thick it felt like the room itself was holding its breath. Then Mia said quietly, "Why?" "Now I saw your picture in the newspaper," her mom admitted. "They said you were in the hospital with him." Keanu noticed it, the slight tone in her voice, not anger, not jealousy, but fear. Mia finally looked up. "You came back because of the attention," she said. "No, because you saw him with me." Her mother stepped forward. "I just want a chance to fix this." Mia looked at Keanu. "Do I have to go with her or not?" "If you don't want to," he said gently, "you have a say. We'll talk to the right people." The woman stood in the doorway weeping, but Mia turned away. "I'm not ready," she said. "Maybe someday, but not now." After she left, Keanu sat beside her again. "Are you okay?" he asked. Mia nodded, but her eyes were filled with tears. "I wanted a mom who stayed," she whispered. He placed a hand on hers. "Sometimes we don't get the family we're born into, but we can build a new one." She looked at him. "Like us?" He smiled. "Like us." That night, Keanu made a decision. He called his lawyer. "I want to start the process," he said. "I want to adopt her." "Are you sure?" the lawyer asked. "This isn't just temporary anymore. She's already mine," Keanu said softly. "The paper just makes it real." The next day, the paperwork began. Keanu didn't tell Mia right away. He wanted to wait until it was official. But the news was already spreading. The media had caught wind of the story. KeanuReeves becomes legal guardian of young fan after saving her life. The headline said. But Keanu didn't read them. He just spent each day with Mia, helping her walk again, helping her draw again, helping her feel like she belonged. One afternoon, a teacher from a nearby school visited. "We heard about Mia," she said. "We'd love to have her join our art program." Mia's eyes lit up. "Really, really," the teacher said. "You'll have your own space, supplies, and students just like you." Mia looked at Keanu. He nodded. "Only if you want to." "Yes," she whispered. "I want to." She had spent so long hiding. Now she was ready to shine. A few weeks later, Mia walked into her new classroom for the first time. She still had a slight limp, but she no longer needed crutches. Kids gathered around her. They had seen the story. They had seen the photos. "Is that really you?" one girl asked. Mia smiled. "Yep, but I'm still learning just like you." They all sat down at the long art tables, sharing colors, giggling, telling stories. Outside the window, Keanu watched from his car, tears in his eyes. This wasn't just about saving a life. This was about changing one. Forever. That night, back at home, Mia gave Keanu a new drawing. In it, they stood outside a house together. She had a backpack. He had a smile. Behind them was a sign that read, "Home." Keanu looked at her. "Is this what you want?" She nodded. Double quotes, "Me too," he whispered. They didn't say anything else. They didn't have to. Because sometimes, the strongest families are not the ones we're born into. They're the ones we build, through love, through kindness and through never giving up on each other. 2 months had passed since Mia's surgery. Spring had bloomed across Los Angeles. Flowers bloomed on street corners. The air was warmer, and so was Keanu's small home, where the silence that once lived in the halls had been replaced by soft music, laughter, and the scratch of crayons across paper. Mia now had her own room. On the door, she had taped a paper sign, "Artist inside," not before entering. Inside, her walls were covered with drawings, some finished, some still in progress. On one shelf sat her crutches, collecting dust. She didn't need them anymore. Every morning, she stretched and walked with growing strength, each step stronger. Then the last. Keanu, meanwhile, had changed in quiet ways. He started waking up earlier, just to make her breakfast. He stocked the fridge with her favorite cereal. He learned how to braid her hair on school days and waited patiently as she told him stories that had nothing to do with movies or fame. Only her world, her dreams, her thoughts, and every night, when she went to bed, he stood in the hallway and watched the stars through her window, thinking to himself how life had surprised him in the most beautiful way. But not everything was perfect. Not yet. One Wednesday evening, Keanu received a call from his lawyer. "We have a problem," the lawyer said. Keanu sat up, his voice tense. "What is it?" "Mia's biological mother. She's filed a petition. She wants full custody back." Keanu's heart sank. "On what grounds?" "She says she's in recovery now, that she was sick before. She's attending counseling and trying to get her life together. But Mia doesn't want to go back." "I know," the lawyer said. "But courts don't always look at what a child wants. They look at biology." Keanu rubbed his forehead. "So what do? We fight," the lawyer said. "But we need proof that this is more than guardianship. We need to show the court that you are what's best for her, not because you're famous, but because you're present." Keanu looked at the fridge, where one of Mia's drawings was pinned up. A picture of the two of them sitting on a bench, holding hands. Above them was written, "Not blood, but heart." He whispered, "I'll do whatever it takes." The court hearing was set for 2 weeks later. Keanu didn't tell Mia right away. He didn't want to scare her. He just quietly began preparing, collecting documents, letters from the hospital, from her school, from their neighbors. He even reached out to Jenny, the art teacher at Mia's school. "Can you help?" he asked. "Absolutely," she said. "I'll tell them what she's like now, how far she's come." A few days before the hearing, Keanu sat down with Mia in the kitchen. She was drawing a tiny elephant wearing glasses. "Can I talk to you about something?" he asked gently. She nodded. "Your mom, she's trying to come back." Mia's hand froze on the page. "She filed a paper that says she wants to raise you again." Keanu continued, "And there's going to be a meeting where we all talk about it." Mia's voice was small. "Do I have to go? Only if you want to," he said. "But they'll ask questions." She looked down at her hands. "What if they take me?" Keanu took her hand in his. "I will fight with everything I have to keep you safe," he said. "But I need you to be honest. With me, with them. I don't want to leave," she whispered. "This is my home now." He pulled her into a hug. "Then that's what we'll show them." The day of the hearing arrived. The courtroom was quiet, plain, nothing like the movie sets Keanu was used to. Mia sat beside him, wearing a small dress she picked out herself. She held his hand tightly. Her former mother sat across the room, with a lawyer who barely looked at her. The judge, an older woman with soft eyes, called the room to order. "We are here today to determine custody of the minor, Mia Thomas." Keanu's lawyer stood first. He spoke of how Mia had nearly died from lack of medical attention, how she had been found living alone, how Keanu had taken her and saved her, given her a home and hope. He showed the medical reports, the school records, the photos. He even shared the story of the first drawing, the one that started it all. Then the judge asked, "And what is your relationship to the child now?" Keanu stood, clearing his throat. "She's my family," he said simply. "I didn't go looking for her. But the moment she gave me that drawing, everything changed. I didn't rescue her. She rescued me." The judge nodded slowly. Then she turned to Mia. "Would you like to speak, Mia?" Mia stood, trembling a little. She pulled something from her pocket. A folded drawing. She opened it. held it up. In it, Keanu and Mia were in a courtroom, and in big, bold letters above them, it said, "Please don't take me away." Gasps filled the room. The judge blinked, her voice cracking. "Thank you, Mia." Then it was the mother's turn. Her voice was shaking, full of regret. "I was sick," she said. "I didn't know how to care for her. I left because I thought it was better. But now, I want a chance." "Have you seen her since the hospital?" the judge asked. She hesitated. "No." "Have you called?" "Written?" "No." The judge closed her file. "I've heard enough," she said. "Custody will remain with Mr. Reeves. The child may choose to visit her biological mother in the future, but for now, stability is the priority." Mia gasped. Keanu wrapped his arms around her. She didn't say anything, just cried into his shoulder. Her little heart finally safe. After the hearing, Keanu and Mia walked out into the sunlight. "Can I still call you Keanu?" she teased. "Only if I can call you my daughter." He smiled. They laughed. And then she pulled out a fresh sheet of paper. What are you drawing now?" he asked. "Our next chapter," she said. And she began with 2 stick figures, standing under a sun, holding a sign that read, "Forever." The months that followed were like spring after a long, harsh winter. Mia settled into her new life not just as Keanu's daughter, but as someone who was finally safe, seen and loved. The nightmares faded, the limp disappeared. Her laughter filled rooms that had once only echoed with silence. Keanu, once a quiet figure in his own house, now woke each day with purpose. They had routines now. Mornings began with pancakes or cereal, always with a side of music playing in the background. Sometimes jazz, sometimes old soul, depending on Mia's mood. Keanu would drop her off at school, wearing a hoodie and sunglasses to keep things quiet. The teachers waved. The kids smiled. Some whispered, "That's him." But they all respected the space he gave. After school, Mia would draw, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Because now, her art wasn't about escaping a broken world. It was about celebrating a better one. But one morning, something unexpected arrived. A letter. Plain envelope. No return address. Just her name, handwritten. Mia opened it at the kitchen table while Keanu cooked. Her face changed as she read. Keanu turned. "What is it?" She handed it to him. The letter was short. "Dear Mia, I know I failed you. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know that I'm still working on myself. I hope one day you'll want to talk. I'll be here when you're ready. Love, Mom." Keanu looked at Mia. "How do you feel?" She shrugged, confused. "That's okay. Do I have to write back?" "You don't have to do anything you're not ready for," Keanu said. "Just know that whatever you decide, I'll be here." She folded the letter and tucked it in her sketchbook. Not ready to throw it away. Not ready to answer it. Just holding space for her feelings. Weeks passed. Summer approached. The art center that first brought them together reached out with exciting news. They were planning a special exhibit titled "Small Hands, Big Voices," featuring work by young artists who had overcome challenges. They asked Mia to be their head feature. She was shocked. "Me?" "Yes," said the woman on the phone. "Your story gave this place new life. We want your drawings to tell that story." Keanu encouraged her. "Say yes." Mia nodded slowly. "Okay, but only if you come to." He laughed. "I wouldn't miss it." The gallery buzzed with light and life on the day of the exhibit. Paintings, sketches, and sculptures covered the walls. Each piece had a title, a story, a voice. Kids and parents moved from room to room, admiring the colors and courage. Mia's corner was decorated with framed versions of her earliest drawings, including the one she first gave Keanu. But there was one new piece, the centerpiece, a large canvas she had spent weeks working on in secret. When the cloth covering it was pulled away, everyone gasped. It showed a little girl walking alone in the rain on crutches. In front of her stood a man, blurry but kind. His hands were open, his arms waiting. Above them were just 2 words. He stayed. People stood in silence. Tears filled the eyes of strangers. Reporters tried to speak, but even they were quiet. Keanu stood behind Mia, both proud and emotional. She looked up at him. "Do you like it?" He smiled, voice soft. It's the most powerful thing I've ever seen. After the event, a woman in a blue coat approached them. "Excuse me," she said. "My daughter's in a wheelchair. She's always felt like she didn't matter until she saw your story. Thank you for showing her she's not invisible." Mia hugged her without a word. And Keanu, once again, realized how far one simple act could go. Later that night, they walked home under a sky full of stars. "Was today too much?" Keanu asked. Mia shook her head. "I liked it. It made me feel full, like your heart was full." "No," she said, smiling, "like my whole self was full." He chuckled. "That's even better." But as they reached the porch, something was waiting. A package. Mia picked it up. Inside was a sketchbook, her old one, the one she thought she had lost months ago before she ever met Keanu. Tucked inside was another note. "Found this at the shelter. Someone said it was yours. You left beauty behind. Keep making more." Mia stared at the handwriting. It wasn't her mother's single quotes. It was someone else's. A stranger who had believed her art mattered. Someone who kept her memory safe. She hugged the book tight. "I don't even know who sent this," she said. "Sometimes," Keanu replied, "angels don't sign their names." The next morning, Mia sat down at her desk. She opened the first blank page of the recovered sketchbook and began to draw again. But this time, it wasn't just drawings. It was a letter to herself. "Dear me, you are strong. You are safe. You are not a burden. You are the storm and the rainbow after. Never forget who you are." Signed, "The girl who walked through rain and found home." She smiled as she closed the book. She walked out to the kitchen. Keanu was standing there, flipping pancakes. "What do you think about doing something crazy?" she asked. He raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "Like writing a book together." He paused, then smiled. "I think it's time the world heard your voice." And so they began. Evenings were filled with words and sketches. Laughter and edits. Hope and healing. They weren't just building a life. They were building something that could help others, too. And it all started with one picture, a crayon drawing, from a little girl on crutches who just wanted to say thank you. It had been 1 year. 1 year since the rain. 1 year since a little girl walked into a quiet art center on crutches, holding nothing but a crayon drawing and an aching heart. 1 year since KeanuReeves caught her in his arms and refused to let go. Now, life looked different. Mia was standing on a stage in a school auditorium, reading from the book she had written with Keanu. The book was called He Stayed. It wasn't a long book. It wasn't full of big words, but it was full of truth. Truth about pain, truth about healing, truth about love that shows up and stays. The room was packed. Parents, kids, teachers, artists, even a few people who had never heard of KeanuReeves before this. They didn't come because he was famous. They came because of her. As she read the last page aloud, her voice shook a little. "I don't remember the storm for how hard it rained," she said. "I remember it because someone stood in it with me." A long silence followed. Then applause, real, deep, lasting applause. Tears streamed down cheeks. Strangers held hands, and in the front row, Keanu stood, clapping with both hands over his heart. He wasn't the star of this story anymore. She was. After the event, a journalist approached them with a microphone. "Mia," she asked, "what would you say to people who feel lost or abandoned like you once did?" Mia thought for a moment. Then she said something that would be quoted around the world. "Even if no one shows up for you at first, don't stop drawing your life, because someone out there is waiting to walk into your picture and stay." The journalist blinked, stunned. Keanu placed a hand on Mia's shoulder and smiled. "She teaches me every day." Their book became more than a book. It became a movement. Schools invited them to speak. Youth shelters asked for copies. Libraries created art programs based on Mia's drawings. One hospital even started a reading hour for kids in recovery using pages from He Stayed. But despite all the attention, Keanu and Mia kept life simple. They went on hikes, made pancakes, took silly selfies, kept bedtime stories alive. They never let the world in too far, because what they had was sacred. One night, as they sat on the porch watching fireflies in the backyard, Mia asked softly, Do you think I'll ever be scared like that again? Keanu didn't rush to answer. He leaned back, looking at the stars. Maybe, he said. We all get scared sometimes, even grown-ups. She nodded. But if it happens, he added, you won't be alone. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Promise? He turned and kissed the top of her head. Always. The next morning, something special arrived in the mail. A letter from the same shelter where Mia had once slept alone. It was from a young girl named Talia. Dear Mia, I saw your book. I used to think no one cared. But then I read about you. Now I'm drawing too. Thank you for showing me that broken things can still be beautiful. Mia sat with it for a long time. Then she wrote back, Dear Talia, you are not broken. You are becoming. Keep drawing. I'll be waiting. She sealed it in an envelope. Then ran outside to Keanu, waving it in the air. Can we send it today? He smiled. Let's go right now. Months passed. Then years. Mia grew stronger, taller, braver. And one day, she no longer introduced herself as the girl from that story. She simply said, I'm Mia. I draw things that matter. And when people asked how she got started, she always told the same story. About the rain, about the drawing, about the man who saw her when no one else did. And how, when her world was falling apart, he stayed. One final page, the last drawing in her second book, showed a grown-up Mia walking side by side with a younger girl who looked like her. They were standing in front of an art center with a big banner that read, Welcome to the House of Hope, and below it, in neat letters, founded by Mia and her dad. Yes, her dad, because sometimes the people who show up unexpectedly become the family we were waiting for all along.